O&M committee.
Everybody leaving.
I need a motion to approve the
Human
minutes
Resource Building.
from the last meeting. Ms. Wood, Ms. Frazier, any questions? We're gonna move into the action agenda. I'm sorry, Jeff has to leave, so we'll have to just, play this by ear here. The first part of this O&M is gonna be, I'm gonna introduce Mike Consulo from the Lake George Chamber and CVB Board. As you all know, last year we put a website together, paid a lot of money for it, but it's been sitting there. The mayor doesn't have time to look at it every minute, and we need somebody to really follow up on this. We've worked with the tourism. It's a lot of work. Mr. Consulo, we've met with the mayor and myself and Mr. Consulo and some of the tourism. We might come up with an idea that might help get this park up and running, a website person watching it. So Mike, I'm gonna turn it over to you right now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Michael Consulo, Lake George Regional Chamber of Commerce and Convention Business Bureau. Before I really get into speaking about the Festival Commons website, I want to take this opportunity to introduce you to Kristen Hannafin. Kristen is our newly appointed Special Events and Convention Sales Director. You know we have a contract with the county to provide services relative to the convention special events market. And Kristen is joining us, will be joining us as June 6th. She has replaced Christine Curley, who's left on medical.
You can read one.
But we're excited to have Kristen here. She was formerly with Saratoga North Street Railway Company, so you're very familiar with that and the work that they had done in the past. And we're very excited, and she will be obviously a part and parcel to the Festival Commons in terms of the sales and marketing efforts that we're going to put forward. And with that in mind, I just distributed the brochure that we have, but I'm also going to hand out, I hope I have enough copies, a proposal that was presented to both the mayor and Chairman Merlino regarding the Festival Commons and its sales and marketing efforts.
I don't know if they have that.
Right here, we already have it.
I got one.
So much time just hand them out. I didn't realize that. Well, again, thank you very much. If the supervisor, chairman said that, about a year or so ago, we had promoted and proposed through the Convention Business Bureau that we create a Festival Commons website, and we did so, and we did it with the help of Normandy Marketing, and the site was up, but that was just it. It was what I would perceive as a kind of a Band-Aid. It was a start of something good, but it really had not continued, and I'm not going to go into any of the excuses as to why it did not happen. It was just a victim of time and attention. But as we're moving forward, and as we've seen some good results from the mayor and his team and the activity that they've created down at the Festival Commons, and as we're going into 2016 and some of the events that are going to be taking place there, we all just realize that the mayor is doing a great job in booking these events, but somebody's got to go out there and market it and sell it effectively, and that's where we believe that we can come in and do that job very effectively in terms of not only creating enhanced materials, which there's some brochures here, and quite honestly, if you look at it, it's pretty updated. If we're out there in the marketplace talking to people, showing them that, it's not really a very effective sales tool. So we are in dire need of some proper materials to hand out to prospective promoters, event planners, to really highlight the Festival Commons and part of the Charles R. Wood Park. And Walt's here, and I know that's going to be part of the discussion in the future, but right now we're focusing on Festival Commons. And so we're out there in the marketplace, and we're really knocking on doors, getting people to come and see what we have to offer.
thought a train was coming through this.
Yeah, I thought Chris was bringing the railway back. So, that is good, but we need tools, but we also know that we have a very important, tool in the website, and the website needs to be greatly enhanced. It is somewhat up to date, but not very effective. The promoters that are booking events down there, they're providing that information to the mayor and his team, and the mayor really, in all honesty, is saying, well, okay, where do I send this so that we can get it up on the website? Who do I send it to? And we really did not have that connection. And as a result, we kind of said, we would like to do that. We would like to be that conduit to really open up this Festival Commons to a greater audience. And as a result, we're proposing that we, as the Chamber CVB, take over the actual maintenance of the website to expand it, to work with Peter and Warren County Tourism folks to coordinate some efforts. But we do have a young lady on our team right now by the name of Amanda Metzger. You might know of her. She was a former reporter for the Post-Star. She's working on our website. She's doing a great job. She's now available to lend assistance to the website, and again, partner with Peter and Joanne and Tanya on really doing some continued work and efforts on the website. So we're proposing to do that. We're proposing to really go out there and be the sales force behind Festival Commons, and to bring everything up to speed so that people know what's going on, not only for the future, but events that are taking place currently. And there's just an awful lot of information that needs to be presented to the general public, and right now it's lacking, but we're hoping to do that. And the proposal I've submitted to you all is for a contractual agreement between now and the end of the year, and we would do it at a fee of $10,000 for the entire period. And then, looking at the results at the end of the year, sit down and talk about moving forward for 2017. I know it's a great deal of time. You got a busy agenda. I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have, but I honestly believe that what we have proposed to you is certainly something that you should really seriously consider, and we're willing and wanting to take it.
All right, well, just so everybody knows, I totally agree with this, and I think the mayor does too. I won't speak for him, but this will be a chance for us to get that part of the website that we spent a lot of money on up and running, and give it till the end of the year to see how it works out, and then sit back down. This is a $10,000 agreement or a proposal that we'll pay from now until the end of the year, and then towards the end of the year, sometime maybe late November, early December, we can sit back down to decide to move forward for another year, and but it's got to get running. I mean, it's going to be, we're starting into our season. The mayor does a great job getting, activity going on in that thing. The tourism department promotes it well, but I think that website needs to be monitored by somebody every day and up and running. So that's just my opinion. So do I have any other comments on from?
Conceptually, I agree with the idea of practically. I'm just kind of curious, are we required to do any kind of RFP? Brian can probably clear it up. I know this is a proposal for $10,000, but were we required to solicit, or is this something we can go ahead with without solicitation? I'm not sure. Because this is a joint thing, I'm not sure how it works with our procurement policies and whatnot.
I would, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would defer to, I would have to check with Julie Butler to make sure. I would want to be certain. I'm not certain as I sit here right now whether we could do it without some level of public participation.
Yeah, well, and that's why we did it this way, because we felt it was the easiest way to do it and get it going, and not have a full-fledged contract. Then at the end of the season, if it works, then we'll put it out for bid, and that's, because it's going to cost you a lot more money. But I think this is under a cap that we can probably, we're already giving the CVB board and chamber money.
Oh, so we're looking at adding this into the...
We're adding this into that right now.
The way this came across, I was looking at it as a totally separate agreement, so that clears that up.
I think, because we're doing this more under the CVB part of the contract with them.
And I apologize if that led to be
I
presented
just wanted to
something different,
make
but
sure.
it would be just an addendum to our
Okay.
contract,
Okay.
and an add-on.
Then,
you understand, you know, 'cause we're already giving them, I think, 140,000,
40,000.
and this is just like an add-on to that for the rest of this year to get this project going. And then at the end of the year, they have to apply again for a full RFP, if whatever you wanna do it that way, to continue it one way or the other.
I would wanna write that into our letter of proposal for next year's renewal.
Right.
That's what I'm.
Joanne?
Just to be clear, the 140,000 for the CDBG funding comes out of the tourism department's, promotion budget right now, and this request would have to go to the next committee for.
That was gonna be my next question, was
That's-
where the $10,000 was coming from.
Well, that's why we're gonna do Octax
That's
next,
why I
and
was
then
wondering.
from
Okay.
Octax go to tourism.
I see. All right.
We're trying, I mean, it's normally not done, but this is, you know, June 1st is right around the corner.
Right.
If we wait another couple of weeks or a month, we'll be into, July already, and we gotta get this going if it's, to get this, you know, everybody wants more tourism, more people in our county. Now's the time we gotta do it, and, you know, this is, you have any other, anybody? Yes.
Just curious if we could add a.
Do you have to speak up? I can't hear you, I'm sorry. Have her go to the podium.
Just curious if we could add a social media element to that, I believe there is.
That's it, that's all in there.
I don't believe you have a copy.
I don't.
All right, that's all in there.
Thank you.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that is all part and parcel.
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
great.
It's all part and parcel.
I know there's a Festival Commons, like, Instagram or something.
All right. Why we're doing the O and M first, then we're gonna move, see if we can get the Octax committee and the tourism committee to agree with it, and then that's how we'll work it. Mr. Mayor, you have any comments on that?
No, I just think it's important that we move ahead. We've got promoters that are booked for this season, and, I'm sending them to George, and George is knowing what's going on. The website needs to be brought up to date to help these promoters out. We're having enough problem getting people there, and, there's 21 days booked, and these promoters have to have a place to go to, so I hope we can speed the process up any way the county feels. The village is fine with it, it's under our, amount to go out for RFPs.
Well, we can certainly speed it up and bring it through. I believe, Mayor, that, it's good the communication that we have between yourself and the promoters, but it's the communication to the general public that I think is sorely missing, and that's where the key component lies.
Okay, yeah, okay, you gotta speak up a little louder though, but anyway, I mean, again, just so you understand, the reason why we're doing this is because they've already hired a person at the Lake George Chamber of Commerce, CBB, to do their website, so we have somebody on, they have somebody on staff that can just continue this process for us for the rest of this year, without going out and hiring somebody, well, they already have somebody on board. So, any other comments? So can I get Ms. Frazier, Ms. Wood?
I'll second it if we can amend to pending approval by the county attorney, so he looks at everything.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Opposed? It's passed. All right. We'll bring it up again at the next part of the tourism meeting. All right, moving along on, Mr. Mayor,
Well,
Festival Commons.
we've been talking the last, year and a half, one of the major components of the festival space obviously is the stage. Promoters have utilized the stage in different locations there. Some have thought, this location was better than that. It's been a tremendous expense, as you might imagine, anywhere between $2,000 and $3,200 a day to rent a stage. We've been able to reach an agreement with a local stage manufacturer up there for a lesser amount, but still it's an added cost to the promoters, and we obviously could charge more if we had one. We had 3 meetings with all the promoters in the area. We had one, the 3rd meeting last week. Supervisor Merlino was there, and some of the promoters that have used the festival space thus far, and we have decided to recommend to this committee that we secure a mobile stage, one that can be moved around, not only at the space, but can be moved throughout Warren County to the various other events. Jeff Tennyson's folks were there. I'll give you a couple we can pass around, perhaps that's all. I don't need one, you can take it. We met with, the largest, stage manufacturer in North America called Stage Line, just to get an idea of costs and exactly the way these things work. It comes on a trailer, can be hauled from space to space by, a vehicle which is already owned by Warren County. It takes 4 men 2 hours to set up once they arrive on site, and comes with all the bells and whistles necessary to put a performance on, with the exception of sound and lights. We talked to the gentleman for 2.5 hours. Obviously, we know it would have to go out to bid. I have secured an application for grant funding in the amount of approximately $200,000. The stage, with all extra expenses, is expected to come in at somewhere around $270,000. I've been working with Betty Little's office, and I have the application ready to be submitted, and I'm looking for authorization from this committee. I already have it from the village at our last Monday night's meeting, to submit an application through Betty Little's office for a grant for $200,000. That raises the question, where would the remainder of the money come from? The remainder of the money could come from, number one, I think, occupancy tax. I've seen the generous amount that you're holding in case of an emergency. I think this stage for next season is an emergency. It's hard to sell a festival space without a stage. But if you think about the fact that it could be utilized at the Adirondack Balloon Festival, can be used in downtown Glens Falls for events, Warrensburg Jamboree, a lot of other events in Warren County, up at the state, or at the fairgrounds, if you had something going on there, it would be tremendously useful to everyone. Could also be removed from the festival space off-season, so there wouldn't be another building on the site, and can be utilized anywhere within the site. If you notice the festival this weekend, they had their stage facing north. Most of the folks have had their stage facing south. One this year is going to have their stage facing west. So it would give us a lot of flexibility to use. While this grant funding is available, I'd hate to miss the opportunity. We did go through the process of designing a permanent stage for the festival space. Price came in between $700,000 and $800,000. It obviously had red dressing rooms and all those things that I don't think we need right now. We've been using RVs donated to the various promoters. We've been using small tents at a very inexpensive cost, but we do need a stage. I'd like to be able to apply for the grant funding, and if successful, then be able to put a stage out to bid using specifications that we would obtain, and some of the components from Stage Line, which is located up in Montreal, who, even though they don't have toilet tissue in Venezuela, just shipped 24 stages to Venezuela at one time. For every province in Venezuela, they all bought one of these portable stages. This is not, this stage would accommodate a group such as the Glens Falls Symphony, 60 to 75 performers. I can't imagine that we would be doing something much more than that, but the folks that met with them, and Jeff was there, and myself and Dave, and Mr. Merlino, we're very, thrilled with what we saw we could do with a stage such as this. So I'm just looking for authorization today to proceed ahead and submit for a grant application, and hope that we'll be one of the chosen few.
Comment from the group, yeah?
I'll make a motion to go ahead.
Make a motion, go ahead.
Second that motion.
And
Good
any
idea.
comments? Okay, so we got a motion and a second just to move, let Mr. Mayor follow through and start working on the grant program for the stage. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Now that Jeff's back, I'm just gonna jump up top, under, new business and action agenda. You got that bill you wanna explain? Right there, yeah.
Well, this is a request to reimburse the village for some, for an application on the festival space lawn.
That's all. All right.
Page 2 is a description of, and on the back is a description of what they did. Basically fertilizer application.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. All right, now we're back down to a second part.
Dave Emons.
Yeah.
Don, you-
This is a request from Dave Eman. Dave Eman is a promoter that did 2 shows last year. He submitted his $500 deposit to Lisa, and canceled 7 days after the 90-day deadline was up to return it. There were extenuating circumstances. It gets a little convoluted, but if you remember, Dave Emons did a show last year in September, and we had this big group, The Chill, coming. So I asked Dave to move his show to June so that we could accommodate The Chill. The Chill ended up not choosing Lake George. Instead, you'll remember going to Pennsylvania. But it took some time for them to make that decision. In the meantime, Dave was there. I had moved him to June so that we would not lose his show. And obviously that moved his date up 2 months and moved the deadline up 2 months. And he is going back, and he is the individual that's doing the show the week that The Chill was going to be here. So he is still doing his show, of which he submitted another deposit of $500. I would like the committee to, in view of the fact that it wasn't really his fault, he was accommodating us, I would like the committee to approve returning his original $500 for his first festival. It was just 7 days late, and it was, you know, again, if it had been in September, he'd have been fine, but we moved him to June.
And I'll make a quick comment, because this gentleman, I think we're gonna see a lot of him.
Dave has done
Yeah.
4 festivals so far for us. He's a Warren County, some of you perhaps know him, he's a big stonemason. He's a promoter with Jim Anderson out of Albany, and he is doing 2 shows again this year.
I'll make that motion.
Very
that we
good.
refund his
Ms.
money.
Wood, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's passed. Now you're back down to, booking space.
As we get into the use of the space, and we're all new at this, we find that we get requests to use the festival space where our fee of $1,500 a day doesn't fit. A good example is, this coming June, is it, Walt? The Glens Falls National Bank is holding their annual meeting at the festival space for about 2 hours, under a tent, with catered food, sponsored by the Lake George Association, one of our present owners or past owners. The $1,500 fee does not fit for that particular venue. I also have been working with 2 wedding receptions that would come in for 3 or 4 hours on a Saturday afternoon, put up a tent, have it catered festival would not be open to the public, and those fees don't really work. I'm working on a set of proposed fees to bring to the committee next month, but we presently have two groups, the Glens Falls National Bank, who incidentally financed a portion of the festival space, holding their annual meeting there, and we have a request to use the skate park by a group of young people that helped me raise the money for it, for one afternoon, and it's just the skate park, not the festival space. And they both have put down their deposits. And my suggestion for these two groups, until we work some type of a fee up, is that we charge them $250. That fee will cover anything that we need to do as far as picking up litter, rubbish, or our men there for just a couple of hours. And there's no vendors involved in any of these. There might be one with the kids that have a hot dog cart for the event that they're gonna put on, but certainly the $1,500 fee seems a lot for, especially these users, one of whom is one of our original purchasers of the park. So I would like to recommend a fee of $250 for both of these groups, but still have them put down a $500 deposit for security purposes.
I'll make the motion.
Evelyn, Ms. Frazier,
Motion.
any other comments? Now we're really getting going, and I think by the end of this year, into 2017, we will have a complete booklet of different prices. You know, these are all coming up while we're hand and mouth type of thing, so.
Right.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Mr. Mayor, you got that.
And the last item is just a report that we're booked 23 days this year at the festival space. We were booked 21 days last year, so we are heading in the right direction. The income will be somewhere around $25,000 to our maintenance fee once we're done. And we are also, Michael and I met the other day, we're meeting with a National Barbershop Quartet Festival for 2017. I've been talking to the Big Apple Circus, seeing if they'd like to come back, a National Barbecue Festival, and also an international car show that wants to book in 2020. They were in Saratoga Springs this past year, and will be in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. This is a huge professional car show, not like the Adirondack Nationals, but a static show that stays put on the festival space and shows their cars, and doesn't make a lot of noise. So that's just an update. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, Jeff, we'll move back to you under the wetlands maintenance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got a draft proposal, I think it was generated by LGA.
Yes.
On wetland maintenance. And this kind of goes back to the original easement in which the county granted conservation easement to the three environmental groups. And as part of that came with some conditions on maintaining the park and the wetland features. So if you're okay, I'll...
Mr. Mendez, you'd like to speak?
Sure.
Just go up to the mic, would you, up there, please? A lot of us are getting older, we're getting a little hard to hear. We get yelled at a lot, you know?
Okay, thank you. Does that work?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay. Under the terms of the conservation easement, as Jeff referenced, we set up a project management executive committee, which has representatives from all the different partner organizations on the Westbrook property. One of the charges of that committee was to come up with a maintenance plan for the wetlands, the south parcel. So we commissioned Chazen, who is the engineering firm who designed the wetland complex, to come up with a maintenance and operations manual for it, which has been presented to the committee. And I think it's gone through a couple of different drafts. I think we're on the final draft. We haven't really talked about it in the past few months because the committee's been dealing with development of the park and wrapping up all the grants, but the last time we met as a committee, we felt it would be appropriate to bring it to the full county, I guess through this committee, being the county version of the operation and management of the park. so I felt it would be the right thing to do to bring it before you folks. And essentially, it's a set of guidelines for how to operate that wetland complex. It's a natural complex of wetlands and vegetation and pathways and so forth, but it doesn't require maintenance. And so far the village has been doing a fantastic job dealing with the mowing and the upkeep of it, but over time the vegetation in the wetlands will have to be removed, harvested, so to speak, so that we don't have a buildup of nutrients there. The sediment retention ponds will eventually have to be maintained, scooped out from time to time. So what we felt is if we came up with this guideline for how to operate all that, and also a corresponding budget for how that would work. It's just a guideline budget. I guess the final budget would have to be developed each year by probably by your office, Jeff, I would assume. But this at least gives us guidelines, and so we know what to expect down the road. So I felt it would be appropriate to bring it to this group. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, and I have, this hasn't been distributed as yet, so I have it in digits, so we can do an email blast out to the committee, so you can kind of go through it. And then I think it's important too to get a copy of the environmental easement out as well, that it references and where it really obligates the county for certain maintenance and repair type functions. So I think the other thing too is I was talking with the mayor regarding the PMEC about getting Gene linked in now that Fred Monroe is retired, and I think that's important to get him up to speed on this too, because we missed some of those discussions that probably occurred with Fred. I guess my only question, and maybe you know, Walt, is there any eminent immediate need in the wetlands that from you or your staff seeing? Is there something that we really need to address immediately, or can we continue to kind of monitor and develop this summer in anticipation of future years?
Yeah, I think that's fine. There's no immediate needs other than general upkeep, which the village has already been working on. We did a couple of minor repairs last year, working with some grant funds that we had left over, and also working with county forces and the Soil and Water Conservation District. They've been great. They've been a huge help down there. So I think we can continue to sort of muddle through without a formal plan yet, but I think at some point we should formalize it so that we all have kind of a clear understanding of what the cost will be down the road and what to expect. This outlines like a 5-year schedule for certain things and a 2-year schedule for certain things, and then every now and then we have to react to something that happens, like one of the ponds overtopped when we had a heavy rainfall. We just dealt with it, working with the really good partnerships that we already developed. So yeah, I think we can just sort of muddle through for a few more months, but I think at some point this should be looked at really thoroughly, and we should all come to an agreement on that maintenance guidelines.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm looking through some of this and looking at some of the agreements that were done way back. There's a lot of extra on, so we really should sit down and
Absolutely.
get together and let's find out who's responsible for what and get this all taken care of the next, by the end of this season.
We may wanna get soil and water.
Yeah, it might be good. We have a meeting with soil.
That would be great. I'd be happy to help set that up or sit in on it.
Yeah, because there's a couple of things on here that I don't understand invasive species in that pond, but we'll look at it as it goes along and a few other things.
Okay.
All right,
Sounds
thanks.
great. That's reasonable.
Yes,
Thank you.
excuse me.
Just regarding the invasives, I know there's some existing programs that are occurring, and we certainly want that south parcel to be included. I think you guys had sponsored, LGA had sponsored some invasives removal along Westbrook.
We did, and also we have we have a crew coming in a couple of weeks to take down some of the invasives on the hillside on the south hillside by the Glens Falls National Bank branch.
Okay.
There's a bunch of
so you guys are already on some
So
of this
we're
stuff.
working on these things bit by bit, and so far we've been able to fund it through leftover grants, but we won't be able to do that forever. And there's this maintenance fund that's already set up as part of the conservation easement. So long term, I think that's the way we should go. But for now, we'll just deal with the invasives and the ponds and so forth ourselves, collectively.
All right. Jeff, on the grand opening?
Okay, thanks, Walt.
Okay, thank you.
The mayor and I had discussed possibly having a park grand opening, and I guess I'll turn it over to the mayor, because I think you talked to the governor's office about.
Well, yeah, we were
potential
talking
thing.
about having a grand opening, hoping that everything would be done by then, in October. And, based on what we've been talking about at our PMEC meetings, I guess the park would be pretty much done with the exception of perhaps the water feature. I did talk to, the governor's secretary back a couple of months ago, and it seemed like we had an opportunity to have, him here in October, was a good time, so, I guess we're just, for information purposes only now, there's no commitment. If we all think that October is a good time, then I'll send out an official invitation and see if we can get a firm date. At best, we would like the Secretary of State to come up, who's provided, or the DOT Commissioner, who's provided, a majority of the funding for the park. But one of those individuals to help us officially open up the park. If you haven't been up there yet, and seen the children's playground, it's absolutely magnificent. There isn't anything like it anywhere in the North Country, and we're getting all sorts of great compliments, about it, so it's nice to be part of something like that.
Just to follow up too, in addition to the granting agencies, we had talked about making sure we invite the private donors. You know, the Wood Foundation certainly has been critical in providing a lot of local match to match those grants. And there was other donations done early on, and essentially all of the stakeholders and people involved with the project. We think it's appropriate to have some type of event of recognition.
We hope to have the donor wall up and running by then too, Walt.
Yeah, well, we'll see, we're working on it.
Okay. That's all I have.
All right, open to anybody else, any other comment from public? All right, motion to, well, we don't adjourn, but move into the tourism. Oh, there's a separate, okay, we gotta make a motion to adjourn. Ms. Wood, Ms. Frazier, all in favor? Adjourn.
What is
Now
this
we'll
for?
move in. That's right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Jeff, let me see that.
We ended up doing
No,
an
no,
agreement.
that,